She was also the first African-American woman named to head a public television station in the continental US, and that was WNBE.
I got your back, Larry.
Dr. Lewis earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in journalism from WVU in Morgantown, the first African-American woman to graduate with an undergraduate degree in journalism, and she earned a PhD in communication studies from the Scripps College of Communication. I'm sure many of us are alums at Ohio University. She is the recipient of numerous awards and honors, including the 2020 Medal of Merit for Professional Achievement from the OU Alumni Association and the Neil S. Buckley Award for Social Justice, also at WVU. Dr. Lewis was elected or appointed to numerous national and state public media committees and boards, including the PBS Public Information Committee, the National Educational Telecommunications Association Public Information Committee, the Magic School Bus Advisory Committee, the Sesame Workshop Public Affairs Committee, and the Association of Public Television Stations Board of Trustees in DC, receiving a Grassroots Advocate Award. So we're sad because Dr. Bailey Lewis has had some health challenges in this past week, but instead, her daughter, an advocate for accessibility and inclusion, also with Dr. Lewis, consults on these issues. She and her daughter, Caryn, founded the Dr. Carolyn Bailey Lewis Family Foundation, a charitable organization which promotes health, wellness, and education for those with acute chronic illnesses and disabilities. I think we all also, if we're familiar with the disabilities advocacy within the city of Athens, particularly Dr. Bailey Lewis has been a huge help moving the city of Athens forward. They also founded Life Day Greeting Cards, Inc. So here's another entrepreneurial endeavor, a unique greeting card line celebrating survival from a life-altering event. Additionally, Dr. Lewis is the author of Love and Loss, The Storied Nature of Nursing Home Care. Both cards and book are available through Amazon and the Little Professor Book Center in Athens. Today, the keynote address at our conference, the 5th Annual Women in Business Conference, will be presented on Dr. Bailey Lewis's behalf by her daughter, Caryn M. Bailey, who many of you met when we did the introductions this morning. So I'd like us to welcome Caryn. We're so thrilled that you can be here with us today.
Good afternoon to the ACEnet board members, staff, partners, sponsors, funders, and all who are gathered here today. And especially to Megan Loveland, who invited my mother, Dr. Carolyn Bailey Lewis, to be here today. It's my privilege to speak on behalf of my mother in her absence. I do have some good news. She has been released from the hospital in Riverside on her way back to Athens in her facility. And there's also another award that my mother recently received from the West Virginia Alumni Association. She just got inducted into the Academy of Distinguished Alumni at WVU. Out of 220,000 alumni, less than 100 have been inducted. And so on the 5th of May that happened, and on the 7th she became ill into the hospital until today. So I'm glad that she's back to Athens. Again, she deeply regrets being unable to be here with you today. However, I'm providing her exact words to you, just in a different voice and not emphasizing how she does. However, this message remains the same and will hopefully deeply resonate with you. The title for her speech is Integrity, the Key to Success in Business and in Life. Integrity, whether you win, lose, or draw. According to C.S. Lewis, integrity is who you are when no one is watching. How many of you knew at an early age, for example, before the age of 20, that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? If you're able, please stand. Please stand if you know that you did before the age of 20. Okay. And if not, please raise your hand if you are able to stand. Okay. Maybe be seated. It's interesting, again I'm talking my mother's voice. It's interesting in my life. I didn't know what I was becoming or what was instilled in me. But at the age of 3, I was wiping out tables in my mother's restaurant. You see, I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and my mother and father were separated, and my mother took ill. My great aunt then came from Bluefield, West Virginia to get me. She was just going to keep me for a little bit, but she ended up raising me. Now, the year before that, in 1947, as a black woman who was very fair-skinned, that could pass for white, she walked into a bank, got a loan, to build a building at 1047 Wayne Street in Bluefield, West Virginia. The building is still standing and is being considered as a National Historic Treasure simply because we entertain folks there such as Ike and Tina Turner, James Brown, and Little Richard. When they came to perform on the Chitlin circuit in the Bluefield Auditorium. So, she came to get me. I was 6 months old, and she had just opened this restaurant. I was an eyewitness to all of her business dealings and to getting up at 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning and working really hard on a big coal stove that she cooked on every day. The first thing she made every morning was ground beans and cornbread, then she would start breakfast for the day. It was very interesting watching this woman in the 40s, 50s, and 60s becoming a mixed-use entrepreneur early on with the mixed-use development, including a restaurant, the retail component, which included a grocery store, and a hotel, which eventually turned into apartments. My journey into entrepreneurship, whether I wanted it or not, began at 3 years old. I've been on tables. As I grew older, in elementary, secondary, and junior high school, I was managing the store, paying bills, and doing a lot of things that kids in school didn't do at that time. She taught me how to do this. She taught me how to be an entrepreneur, how to treat people fairly, how to deal with utility people, suppliers, and even how to deal with folks who are not so good in their business dealings and lacked integrity, who would come into our businesses. My first piece of advice, whether you want to be an entrepreneur or not, is to keep your eyes open for opportunities. You might fall into one, you might walk into one, you might educate yourself into one. But be prepared and knowledgeable. Study what it is you want to do, and most of all, have a mentor, someone who is doing something that you want to do. Next, I find it quite interesting, all the paperwork and tax work that you have to do. The second thing that you have to do is have an accountant or someone who can accurately file your taxes, or you will fall behind. You do not want to get in trouble with an IRS or get unnecessarily audited. My mother so badly wanted me to take over the business. My great aunt, whom I call my mother, wanted this. However, I was so interested in attending West Virginia University. Basically, she ran it by herself. As being the chief everything, we did have helpers along the way. That's the next aspect I want to mention, number 3. If you get in trouble, to find the helpers, as Mr. Rogers said. It was a personal family friend of my mother's. Find the helpers. My mother's. If you get too deep in a hole and cannot find out how to make ends meet, sometimes you have to make decisions. My daughter and I have 3 businesses: a foundation, which is a 501c3, a greeting card line, and a DBA doing business ads for a book. None of this is easy because keeping up with them, keeping up with the taxes, and making sure the bills are paid is a major responsibility. I would be discouraged, but I watched some businesses take a lot. Working with Amazon is not easy. Working online is not easy. I go back to saying number three is finding the helpers and establishing the helpers. Going back to number two, having a mentor and establishing yourself to keep you going. The help I found along the way with navigating Amazon is a small business center at the Ridges. For those who are already entrepreneurs or are thinking about it, you have to be intentional. In addition to working at my mother's hotel grocery store for many years, in 1987, my late husband and I opened up a hobby store in Morgantown, West Virginia. This was key in this region, as you have to look at the customers in which you are catering. The business was great for many years. I always thought that the hobby stores are great for children. However, I quickly learned that those who want to buy a model train, trains, and airplanes, and helicopters can get a train layout built well by actually men who are older, a few women, and every now and then the much older men. Well, after years later, the coal industry in West Virginia took a big hit. Guess who most of our customers were? You got it, coal miners. A few years later, my husband got sick, and after that, I got sick in 1995. Just to say, we had just about everything tied up in that business. We had to close the business and nearly lost everything. It was a very tough time. Fortunately, by the grace of God, I was offered a position here in Athens, and almost doubled my salary than what it was in West Virginia. Around the same time, some VA benefits that we were waiting on came through, and we were able to get our finances in order and get everything paid off. That was one of the hardest things we had to do, was giving up a business that had been so lucrative. Moving forward, my daughter and I manage 4 entities. The first is a Cornerstone Heritage Group, a boutique client services management consulting firm specializing in public-private partnerships, proposal development, fundraising, project management, public relations, commercial real estate advisory and development services, government affairs, and business development. The second entity is the Dr. Carolyn Bailey Lewis Family Foundation, which is a health, wellness, and educational charitable organization dedicated to emotionally and financially improving the lives of people with unexpected, acute, and chronic health challenges, providing college scholarships to college-bound students and current students and non-traditional college students, and furthering the educational opportunities for those who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, people who live with disabilities, excel academically, and are of good moral character, show a financial need in special locations in which the Dr. Carolyn Bailey Lewis Family Foundation supports. And the third is like the Greeting Cards Incorporated, which are especially greeting cards that celebrate surviving a major or minor life-altering event or monumental event such as a transplant, an operation, an accident, disease, cancer, chronic illness, addiction, recovery, hospitalization, or paralysis. Life Day takes note of a new beginning or a breakthrough. The theme of survival is a thread connecting the Life Day series, and the fourth entity, which is really a DBA, doing business as Life Day Books, of which I published my first book, Love and Loss, The Storied Nature of Nursing Home Care. So Lewis's lessons is integral for success in business and in life. Here are some of my Lewis's lessons. Have personal vision and mission statements. A vision statement is where you want to be in 5 years. I will X. And a mission statement is what you are doing now, the business you are in. Set goals and develop objectives to reach those goals. Take risks. Don't feel fear of failure. Know how to budget and to manage a budget. Accept criticism and respond appropriately. And know how to negotiate. Organize yourself and your life. Plan to keep a to-do list and a daily plan. Treat people the way you want to be treated and don't burn bridges. how wealthy or smart you are, or how wealthy or smart your family is. When you can earn it yourself, you will appreciate it more and will take better care of it. Always be grateful. Never take anything for granted. It could be here today and gone tomorrow. Show regular gratitude to those who have helped you and who are helping you on your life's journey. Study, read, and always work to increase your intellect. Keep a journal. Wean yourself from the baby. That is, turn off your phone, texting, Facebook, and Twitter, etc. For a couple hours each day. Take in nature. Watch the sunset. Enjoy a walk in warm rain. Study the birds. Enjoy the squirrels. Have a real conversation with friends and family. Read a newspaper each day. Oops, sorry. Read a newspaper each day. Listen to or watch the news. Know what's going on in the world. Expand your knowledge base. If you don't know sports, study the games. If you want to play chess, learn. If you want to cook, get some recipes and practice. Enjoy success and also practice how you want to be successful and see yourself there. Communicate without the overuse of filler words such as like, you know, okay, and you know what I mean. When you have a presentation or otherwise, look the part. Dress for the occasion. Know how to present yourself professionally. It goes a long way. Remember, first impressions are lasting. Dress the part. Who do you want to be? It's not so much what you want to be. That will come. Character, honesty, truthfulness, integrity, trustworthiness, faithfulness. All of these things and more matter. How would someone describe you? How would you describe it? I've always admired the late poet Maya Angelou and want to impart some of those things she learned on you. So poet Maya Angelou said she's learned. No matter what happens or how bad it seems today, life goes on and it'll be better tomorrow. You can tell a lot about a person by the way he or she handles three things: a rainy day, lost luggage, and tangled Christmas tree lights. And traffic. Regardless of your relationship with your parents, you'll miss them when they're gone from your life. Making a living is not the same thing as making a life. Life sometimes gives you a second chance, and a third, and a fourth, and so on. You shouldn't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. Whenever I decide something with an open heart, I usually make the right decision. Even when I have pains, I don't have to be one. Every day, you should reach out and touch someone. People love a warm hug or just a friendly pat on the back. That I still have a lot to learn, and people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Remember these few things as a new potential or long-term entrepreneur. Make sure your business is a passion. Don't just start a business for money. It may last or it may not last. Plan your work and work your plan. Have everything in order in any given moment, so if you have to make a shift, you can provide a text update to your accountant or review it yourself so that you have all of your business tax information in order. There will be ups and downs, many ups and downs. This is why you may decide if you want to partner with someone. If you do decide to partner with someone, make sure that you have fully vetted them and can trust them and their work ethic. Make sure to have a contract and everything in writing. For example, when you have a particular product to market, it is best to partner with someone who has the same vested interest, particularly when it comes to advertising that product. In addition, as an entrepreneur, you may have knowledge in one area, but you work with others who have expertise in another area. If you are looking to get your product in the store, like we were trying to get like the greeting cards and gift shops, you have to collaborate with the right partners to ensure this happens. These things do not happen overnight. It takes time and patience. Exhaust all avenues before you think about giving up. I watch Shark Tank a lot, and some of those entrepreneurs said it takes them a while to launch their product. And by all means, if you have a new product, be sure to get a patent or trademark. I'm still waiting for final confirmation from the trademark office because they want to see that you're using your product in commerce. Always be kind to the customer and to those who deliver your product. Now we'll show you a PowerPoint on another story. It's entitled My Story, Dr. Carolyn Bailey Lewis. So my mother was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and she went to Bluefield, West Virginia, and she was born September 1948 at McGee Women's Hospital. This is her at 6 months old. And so she showed this and said a whole lot of other things. I'm going to go through this quickly and try to provide the things she wanted me to highlight. And Bluefield, West Virginia is 88 miles south of Charleston. It's on I-77. And so she was in segregated school. So the schools were segregated there until 1969. And so the Brown versus Board of Education was key in 1994 in helping them to desegregate school. But again, they were still segregated there in 1969. And there was the Ku Klux Klan activity was very active there during that time. Bluefield is the highest city in West Virginia at 2,655 feet, at the base of East River Mountain at 3,400 feet. It's nation's air-conditioned city. So even till this day, when it gets to 90 degrees, they give out free lemonade. So it's still this day. The name is derived from the fields of blue chicory that grow abundantly in the region. And so here's some of the photos of Bluefield. It was established and founded in 1889. And so one of Bluefield's claim to fame is John Nash, who's a Nobel Prize winner, and A Beautiful Mind was based on him, and which is pretty good, right? Bluefield is basically known for farming and discovery of Pocahontas coal field after the Civil War, and one of the main financial resources for them was the Norfolk and Western Railway, which chose Bluefield as their headquarters. So with Bluefield, there was a major divide with the railroads, which with the switching of the yards along the trail yard, which divided the city. And supposedly, Bluefield was on Hitler's inner-rape list. This was my grandmother, my mother's mother, Jacqueline Irene Foster. This was my great-great-aunt, my mother's great-aunt, Thelma Mary Stone, who had Hotel Thelma. This is the original deed in 1947 for Hotel Thelma, where Mama Thelma went to get a loan at Top National Bank of Bluefield. This is Hotel Thelma, which is still standing to this day. That was built in 1947. So here are some of the posters that were promoted in the acts for Bluefield Auditorium. And so Shirley Lee and Ike and Tina Turner, and then James Brown, my mother wanted me to share with you that, so this was normally those who were under 18 could not attend these shows. However, this James Brown particularly, who stayed at the hotel, the family was able to attend. So mom was actually dancing with him on stage for that time. So how did that? And so Here's one of the reviews for Hotel Thelma. Thelma was known for providing food and entertainment for African American visitors who were passing through the area. People could have a full belly while feeling safe and relaxed during a time in America's history that was fueled by racial tension and inequality. The Black Grove was an area where people could gather and have a good meal or else have an entertaining time. So it's a good place to visit. I would say both were pretty high-end facilities. The Mercer County Commissioner, who's still the commissioner now. This was Mama Thelma. Thelma was married with Stone, she's a developer. So she was an entrepreneur, builder, owner of Hotel Thelma, owner of Travelers Inn, restaurant, grocery store, apartments, caterer, philanthropist. This is Mom, 6 years old, her 12 years old. And so the significance of this is that my grandparents, Jacqueline and David, were in El Paso. They got back together and wanted my mother back. And so Mama Thelma took Mom to El Paso, and she said that she didn't want to go back. And so then to celebrate, Mama Thelma took Mom to Anaheim, California, to Disneyland. So she's just showing the good things up to go there. So this is Victor Green, who is a retired postal worker and travel agent. This talks about the Green Book, and so the Green Book was where all the blacks had to use to be able to travel through and where they had to stay. We couldn't stay where everyone else stayed. And so this is a listing for Mama Thelma's Hotel, Thelma and Travelers Inn, and the Green Book. And so this is just showing some significance of Bluefield State College, as well as the Norfolk and Western Rail Yard, and the coal mine, another piece which was significant for the financial stability of Bluefield. And so Mama Thelma owned 2 hotels in Bluefield, and Arthur also said Thelma was the white building on the corner of Logan Street and Travelers. The building next to it were 2 black-owned and black-operated hotels and restaurants that catered to African American customers and were very popular in the area. So Mom was 17 years old, and she was a head majorette at that time. That was significant because typically those who were darker skinned African Americans, she went to an all-black high school. It was significant because she was the first darker skinned African American to be selected as the head majorette. This is Mom as she's in the second row, obviously the brightest, Debbie Huntball. I can actually point her out here. She likes telling her stories, so I'm going to tell more. She's in the first row in the middle, so when she graduated from high school. This is a photo. So my mother got a spinal cord tumor my junior year of college in '95. And so it caused her to lose the feeling the rest of her body. So she was scheduled to go to a PBS conference in San Antonio, and my mother's meticulous with her calendar, and didn't know, thankfully, or she probably would have passed while in San Antonio. And so years later, we learned that the spinal tumor was actually neuromyelitis in 2015. I was in the DC area. I just got appointed to the mayor's women's commission on this women's commission, and my mother wasn't looking right. I was going back and forth, and I made her go to the hospital in 2015. Had I not, this swelling would have gone to her brain. She would have to the past, and so she was properly diagnosed with neuromyelitis, which is swelling in the spine, and she had to get several plasma exchanges. And so thankfully, Dr. Jacqueline Nicholas, the neurologist at Riverside, properly diagnosed her. So from 95 to 2015, she had been properly misdiagnosed. So anyway, this was, she wanted to talk about that. She probably would have gone into full detail like me, but that's what happened. And so that's what put her into a wheelchair, because she was able-bodied up until 95, and then in 99 she was walking again, and then she had some setbacks because she wasn't on proper medication. issues that are important regarding for the 90s with the Americans Disabilities Act and looking at identity and how those with disabilities were marginalized and relegated to work, and understanding differences between abilities and doing things differently, respect patients, and also TAP, which she wanted me to focus on, temporarily able bodies that at any given moment something could happen and you could be, disabled. Like for instance, I had a kidney transplant in 2017 and I was fine, but I had, doesn't run in my family, but I had uncontrolled hypertension due to stress, and I was taking some medication that caused me to cause my kidneys to fail, and had to go on dialysis for 5.5 years. Thankfully, I'm fine now, but you just never know what can happen. So that's what she wanted to highlight. I wasn't going to talk about that either, but I did. And also, with the advocacy sites are up here, Natural Lives Worth Living, State of Ohio. She serves on the Athens Commission on Disabilities, and this is her bucket list: Jeopardy, going to the Grand Canyon, New York Times #1 bestseller, guest in the national talk show rounds, winning poetry rounds. And finally, her disability is not her destiny. She has a strong faith in God and stays prayerful. Her body might have difficulties, but her mind is strong. She keeps an attitude of gratitude. She considers the alternative. She has a strong support system. She gives back. She doesn't have to teach, but she does, to share knowledge and experiences. And she gives to charities about which she cares. And so her current affiliations are here: Athens Commission on Disabilities, Athens County Board of Development Disabilities, Secretary of United States Athens County. She hosts conversations with Julia B. She's a member of LCAP Voucher Incorporated, which I am too. She's a Golden member for 2 years, and also run the same chapter, Alpha Omega chapter in Columbus, part of the WCP, other affiliations as well. And as you can see up here, some of you all can't see, but those you can see over here, member of the Mountain College of Wisdom Advisory Board, member of Ohio University Women's Club, member of South Central Ohio Red Cross Diversity and Inclusion Committee, devotions and meditations on WTH Radio Quarterly, adjunct professor at Hopkins College, and associate adjunct professor at University of Maryland Global Campus. They said, we're her inspirations. This is the whole picture. I'm over here, she's in the back, we're helping her stand. My niece in the front, Evan, is now 24. My brother back in the back, and my former sister-in-law, who's one of my nieces, and my niece Leah, and she's 4 years now, 61, 17. And so here's the historical marker for Hotel Thelma, and it reads, in 1949, my mother was instrumental in getting this done. Businesswoman Thelma Stone opened the hotel and restaurant for African Americans in Bluefield. Mama Thelma eventually expanded her business to include apartments and a grocery store, a safe place for blacks during segregation. The establishment was listed in the Green Book throughout the 1950s and hosted many African American performers from that time. And so here is my mother's book, Love and Loss, and actually have a physical, the physical book up here. This is what it looks like. And sorry, too many things going on here. And I say that. Because of her, I am, and I want to say because of them, I am as well. And mother's dissertation was done while she was in a wheelchair. Dissertation 2007, Identity Loss Found and Reconstructed through Healing Narratives and Autoethnography of Tragedy, Travail, and Triumph. And the Foundation website, it's like the reading cards, which this is what it looks like as well. So the reading card is here, so it goes from the brown to the green, brown to life. And it's on Amazon. And her information is Dr. Carolyn Bailey Lewis, her email lewis@ohio.edu. Roosevelt said, "You must do the things you think you cannot do. Remember, integrity is the key to success in business and in life." Again, I appreciate the opportunity on behalf of my mother. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you. Any questions?
Could you just talk for a moment about your relationship to your mom? Give us a personal story.
Well, yeah, my mother's my best friend. I always have seen my mother do as she says because she does. She set the perfect example. I relocated from DC to here because of her, because I want her to do well. I put my career on hold. I was in commercial real estate, and really, I probably would have been working for the current mayor now had I stayed in the DC area, because I did a lot of things politically as well as commercial real estate wise. But I only have one mother, and it's my honor to be here for her. We are very close. So if anything happens to her, it impacts me as well. But we are tremendously close, and I am grateful to be her daughter. Any other questions?
I think we're also moved.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, I've known your mom probably since she arrived in Athens, and I've always been in awe of her advocacy to all people in the community. But, you know, what she's done for people with disabilities has just been amazing. So thank you. We know you care about us. Well, we're going to take just a mini break here so that you can get up and maybe stretch your legs. I think there's still cookies back there on the table if anybody needs a little sugar boost. And then we're going to come back for session 2, and that will be with Caitlin and Paul. And we'll get their PowerPoint up here in a minute and do some introductions. In about 10 minutes, we'll reconvene.